Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another round of the Australian NASCAR Championship here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. It is playoffs time, and the second round, indeed, of our playoffs. There's 8 drivers still in contention for our series at the end of 2025, with just 4 races to go. We come here to Atlanta Motor Speedway, not the modern Super Speedway version, but the 2008 scan, which in my opinion is a better version of this circuit. So we'll see how it races tonight. Myself, Ian Deliri, and Dylan McDonald will take you through the action with the Biggles behind the cameras tonight. It's good to be alongside you, Dylan, for this one. As I say, it's the 2008 scan, and these are the drivers who will set us up for our round of 8. Matt Danson and Josh McMore took victories, and so advanced on that. The rest of them advancing on points, all the way down to Henry King, who only had 1 more point than Fitzroy Bowman, who just misses out on this round of 8, which will start here tonight. It was a very, very close indeed end to that part of it, and here's the start of the next part. There's the front 4 who are currently above the cut line, and indeed below it after the points have been adjusted and so on in the weeks between those 2 races. Good to be alongside you, Dylan. We've got 8 drivers here who are fighting for a championship, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see that first part of that here tonight in the first round of the round of 8.
Absolutely. As we take a look at the grid here tonight, we're going to have Brad Newman from Lobs Esports starting on the pole with Wayne Burke on the outside row, number 1. Ethan Winter in 3rd, Josh McLemore in 4th, and running out your top 5 is going to be Shane Bowen with Tyler Williams in 6th, Fitzroy Beaumont in 7th, Matt Daneson in 8th, 9th is going to be Jamie Ritchie, 10th is going to be Jason Holdsworth, 11th is going to be Sam Chapman, and 12th is going to be Henry King.
A little bit further down for Brenton West, who's the last driver to set a time. Lewis Greathead and Aaron Gilbert round out the field. Gilbert, the only playoff driver not to set a time tonight in the qualifying session. He will hope to come back through the field. What's your view, by the way, on the different layouts of Atlanta? As I mentioned, it's had a repave and a rethink in recent years, but this is the older version. A lot more bumps on this circuit. I think a bigger challenge, actually. What do you make of this decision to run the older version of Atlanta?
This is actually a great decision to run the older Atlanta. It's going to show where the drivers are really capable of saving a little bit of tire and can run the track the way that it needs to be ran. Like you said, Ewan, the bumps along the turns and on the straightaways can really deficit what you're going to do with passing and or just trying to keep the car as straight as you possibly can be. but we're also going to see different lines being taken away from at the top, the middle, and the bottom, and then obviously getting into pit road under green flag conditions. That's definitely going to be a big factor in tonight's race as well.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch here. That is for sure. Brad Newman is going to bring them to the green. As you mentioned, taking that pole position. He is one of our playoff drivers tonight. He's just above the cut line with the playoff points that they're effectively given at the start of the round of 12 or the round of 8 in this series. And the pace car pulls in now. Time for more playoff racing in the Australian NASCAR Championship. It's the playoffs from Atlanta. Green flag in the air, 125 laps set to kick off the round of 8.
Yeah, diving down into turns number 1 and 2. Brad Newman taking a higher entry into the corner. Going to keep it all the way down by that white line, but Josh Micklemore, and the number 31 machine going to be up on that outside all by himself as Ethan Winter down on the inside of the number 39 machine trying to take over P number 2 from Josh Micklemore. So far, not going to be able to get clear, but coming off turns number 3 and 4, still going to be side by side.
And Newman's going to be allowed to get away as a result of this as they cross the start-finish line. Winter is going to get to second. Oh, brief tie-up there for fourth place. Very briefly 3 wide, but Beaumont will get that position ahead of Bowen, who's then in 5th. Danson very much involved in the mid part of this field at the moment. And unfortunately, by the way, Wayne Bork seems to have disconnected on the formation lap. You see his graphic there on the left-hand side seems to be out of the race, apparently. So that's really bad news for Wayne Bork, one of our playoff drivers. Second place in the standings indeed tonight. He's glad that he's got some points to fall back on, some playoff points to fall back on, but it's a terrible start to disconnect right before the start, and what bad timing that is as well.
Yeah, definitely don't want to have it happen, but if it did happen, you'd want to have it happen in the beginning of the race instead of later in the race. Try to get back in, get as many points as you possibly can, and get a bigger buffer going into the following weeks ahead as riding on board with Fitzroy Beaumont. You can see they're going all the way down to the inside lane, painting, as everybody would say, that white line down to the inside as we have some gains coming up on the left side of your screen.
And there's the movers and shakers. 4 positions up into the top 10 for Lewis Greathead, who is the biggest mover forward, although Matt Danson has done a pretty good job as well. 3 wide coming through 3 and 4, nearly 4 wide, goodness me, coming off for the final turn and across the start finish line again. This is all around the sort of mid-pack to the bottom end of the top 10, still 3 wide into 1 and 2. Great driving from all 3 of them to get away with that. Beaumont on the inside line is going to get beat by Chapman on the exit. By the looks of it, off of 2, and there you go, Sam Chapman with a bit of a push actually from Shane Bowen just behind. Bowen, one of those drivers who's gone down positions here, gone down 4 early on here, but still very, very early on in this race, that's for sure. Newman leads the field, but behind that, it's a big battle for second place.
Big battle for second place indeed as Ethan Winter stays up to the outside, going to take a higher arc than even before. Going to cut off the clean air to that number 30 machine of Matt Danson. A little bit of a wall tap there coming off of turns number 1 and 2. Doesn't lose any momentum going into turns number 3 and 4 and down the back straightaway. We're going to see if Matt Danson can find a way around or maybe even possibly have to go up to the high side and get that momentum. You've seen the momentum come off of turns number 1 and 2 running that outside lane, but you also have to take into factor the tire management. How hard do you want to run this early in the race? Do you want to be there towards the end of the long green flag cycle, or do you want to try to go as hard as you possibly can to make up any positions that you can in the early going?
And you mentioned to me before the broadcast about the conditions and how they can really affect the tyre wear, especially at Atlanta. We've got 107.6 degrees Fahrenheit on the circuit right now as far as our timing software is shown there. You can see it there, 108 if you want to round it. That's 42 degrees Celsius for those of you in my part of the world. It's, that's pretty warm. How is that going to affect these tyres over the course of a long green flag run if we get one here?
Oh, it's going to take a wild effect. The hotter the track, the slicker is going to be. The rear ends of these cars are actually going to step out a little bit more than what they normally would on a more cooler track, so there's not going to be a lot of grip anywhere on the track. You're going to see the drivers migrate from the bottom up to the top, trying to find the grip as best as they possibly can. As you see, they're right behind Matt Danson. They're going to be a little bit 3 wide, get it back down to 2 wide. But you got to find the grip where the grip is. You got to race the track how it wants to be raced. You can't just be worried about what you're doing. You got to worry about whatever everybody else around you is doing, so that you can stay out of the trouble before it happens.
Well, with Chapman here, you can see it's what it's like in the middle of the group. Forget about Newman at the moment. He's out front by a long way, but his battle for second is fascinating at the moment. He's on the outside of Micklemore now. He'll be able to get alongside by the exit, certainly will, and moves through into the top 5. So interesting, isn't it, what happens to these non-playoff drivers like Chapman and also Bowen, who's having a really good start here. Shane Bowen, after losing positions early in the run, is now up a couple into third position. You know, it's always conflicting about whether to really get involved in what these non-playoff drivers should do, but you know, they're going to properly race with these playoff drivers, as being shown early on here. They're going to properly race for this, and that's great to see for the likes of Bowen and Chapman, both running inside the top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, as it sits right now, obviously you're going to have the non-playoff drivers show their hand to see what they can do earlier in the run, see what works, see what doesn't work. Obviously, this early in the run, you got to take those chances. Obviously, you don't want to put yourself or the playoff driver that you're racing against in a bad position where it could potentially end your race or their race as a whole, but you want to take those chances. Run the outside for a few laps, see what kind of runs you can form, see if you can make the pass there as we get on board with Josh Micklemore, one of the next runner-up going into turns number 3 and 4. He's going to run the outside as he's got drivers down to the inside making passes on him, so you can see he's trying to get a little bit of migration up and down the racetrack, see what works out better for him. But it's all about being in the clean air. Dirty air here is a major factor, especially with the Xfinity car out here on the racetrack. So the cleaner air, the better your car is going to handle. The dirtier air, the more tight your car is going to be coming off the corner, and then potentially during the longevity of a run, you're going to be a little bit more looser coming off the corners as well.
On board back with Tyler Williams, who's currently 7th place, just in behind Micklemore in 31. So I'm starting to just single file out a little bit compared to what we were seeing earlier on, although, as I say, that Williams is having a look on the outside. Can't make the pass there. Yeah, I'm glad to say, it's a bit of a snag of the wall in the background. Glad to say that Wayne Bork is back in the race. He's actually going faster than the others at the moment because he's on newer tyres. He's not doing, or at least he's not doing as many laps on them. He's just completing lap 8 at the moment, and he's just in behind Brad Newman. I don't know whether he's actually making a pass on Newman in a moment. But anyway, it's good that he's back in the race at least, but it's going to hurt him so much, isn't it, being disconnected there on the formation lap and then coming back out again, having to come back out again and just run around for points as you mentioned he would have to. He is doing exactly that at the moment, running for points, but this is very difficult for him to stay motivated for this. He's 6 laps down at the moment, but here he comes on the inside line. He's going to have to make it 5 laps down, and this would be an unbelievable recovery if he could get himself back towards the front, but there's a long way to go tonight, and so that's the first step for him. He moves up into 5th position.
Yeah, as we look on board here with the number 34 and the number 31, Josh Micklemore on that outside. He's using that outside momentum to keep him alongside and the more advantage going into the corners over Tyler Williams. And that's another thing. With it being on the outside, Ewan, you can carry a little bit more speed. You can get back on the throttle just a little bit more quicker than somebody else. Down on your inside, the car down on the inside has to stay off throttle a little bit longer. They got to make sure that they don't get tight. And then also the dog legs going through the front straightaway, that wall comes up quicker than you would imagine. If you're 2, even possibly 3 wide, what we've seen earlier in this race, that wall can sneak up and can come out and sneak up on you if you aren't paying attention to that outside.
Pretty close, but between Winter and just behind him Bowen, looking for a top 3 now in the end of lap 18. Approaching the end of the first 20 laps here from Atlanta tonight as Bowen looks to the inside but can't go past. Chapman is still there in 5th in the background, by the way, and it's the biggest mover forward so far, 6 gained, although Lewis Greathead has done the same as well. Now we are starting to see the field just stretch out just a little bit, aren't we? And this is, a proper green flag run to start the race, which I'm very pleased to see. Just wonder how long it's going to really last, and whether indeed we're going to see green flag pit stops here, because you were telling us before, Dylan, that the fuel can probably take them to almost sort of splitting this race in half, if you like, and just making one stop. If you look at 60 laps or so, maybe 63 or whatever it would have to be, it would be a bit too far. But in terms of tyres, how are they going to split this up as well? They've only got 3 tyre changes that they can make over the course of the day, so don't expect to see any pit stops before lap 30 certainly, but it's probably going to be further on than that even then, when we actually see pit stops here, if indeed we go green all the way up until the point where we're going to start to see some pit stops here.
Yeah, definitely. The tire where you really have to pay attention to how hard you're driving into the corners, how much wheel you got input through the corners as well. And then obviously you don't want to flat spot the tires. You don't want to do anything drastically. You kind of want to get the car as straight as possible. You want to get the most usage out of those tires that you possibly can. Another thing that we're going to see, especially, is pit road entry. Atlanta, not the best for green flag pit stops just because of the way that the transition is from the corner into the pit road. You're going to see a lot of drivers get a little bit sideways going in and through, as we got a great battle between Lewis Greathead and Tyler Williams up top. The number 34 machine, he's going to have the momentum to get around the number 6, as he's got the slight advantage going into turn number 3, but he's kind of boxed in right behind the number 7 of Sam Chapman, as so far Sam Chapman goes down to the inside. Tyler Williams looking to the outside of that number 7.
Still door to door over the line. Williams just about beating him to the line in 6th. Looking high. Greathead's going to try and get past them both and see whether he goes inside or outside. No, he's going to follow outside, and Chapman's going to go backwards. So again, is this a legacy of going a bit too hard, a bit too early for Chapman, and that's why he's losing these places, or was this always going to happen anyway? Greathead runs around the outside and moves up to 7th place in car 6. I wonder whether Chapman has gone a little bit too hard, a little bit too early. And maybe same for Bowen as well, because Newman, Danson and Winter are 1, 2 and 3. In fact, Danson has caught up to Brad Newman, who's led every lap of the 22 complete so far from Atlanta, but now we've got basically our first battle for the lead on.
Yeah, you can see there Matt Danson using that inside lane to his advantage, going to follow right in the tire tracks of Brad Newman and the number 1 machine, trying to get that draft to pull him a little bit closer and see if he just can't set up a pass. Brad Newman, one of the drivers that is really aggressive when he needs to be, and he's always up front. You always see Brad Newman do anything he possibly can to stay up front, as Matt Danson dancing around trying to hold that car straight as possible, and loses a little bit of time, but still going to be catching right back up to that back bumper of Brad Newman.
Just as we've started to follow, he just lost a 10th or 2 on these last couple of laps, but it's been a great run from Danson so far. He's currently the points leader, and he's 21 points above the cut line coming into this round of the playoffs, with 5 wins over the course of the season and bonus points therefore as a result. Brad Newman leading the race just above the cut line. It's a lot closer to that, just 7 points above the cut line, looking to take a second victory of the season here tonight if possible. He's led every lap so far of the first 26, which are now complete. 125 laps for us tonight, so 20% race distance knocked off immediately there, almost as quick as you can see it. Further back, Brenton West was that a graphical error, or was he actually in pit lane there? He certainly seems to have lost a bit of time. I wonder whether West has had some trouble off of 4, because you don't often see the pit graphic come up and he's not actually in the pit lane. So what actually happened here? Looks to the outside of 4. Oh, he grabs the wall pretty hard and goes through the grass. He saves it pretty well, and he does drive down the pit lane. And bobbles himself back onto the circuit again, but he drops a long way off now in 14th place.
Yeah, that's another thing that you got to watch out for is that wall coming off of turns number 3 and 4. And then, like Charlotte in, I believe, Las Vegas now, I think they have a turf down on the inside going through the tri-oval where your car's not going to do the big jump that you've seen Brian West take going through the infield. You're just going to kind of coast all the way through that turf. So keeping that car under control as he's kind of losing control on the asphalt, going straight down into the grass. It's great car control by him. Obviously, you don't want to hit the wall as hard as he did, but luckily he wasn't involved in anything major. He was still able to race on.
Approaching 30 laps done now and approaching 1/4 distance very, very quickly. As I mentioned before, we've got 3 tyre changes in this race, and the tyre drop-off, or at least the lap time drop-off, has been pretty severe. We're over 1.5 seconds slower than what we were at the start of the race. That's Atlanta. There's the details for you, by the way. 4 tyre sets for the race, so therefore 3 tyre changes to take on over the course of the day. Now, would you split the race into quarters straight from the off here and pit somewhere around lap 30 or just after lap 30 to keep it into quarters, to use those 4 tyre sets sort of evenly through the 4 quarters of the race, or maybe go a little bit further, preempting maybe a late caution, and if there is one of those, then using one of those tyre sets late on? Which would you decide to do here? Early pit stop or keep some tyres back for a little bit later on?
Me personally, I would keep some tires for a late race caution. Anything can happen, right? I mean, it's just Atlanta. Anything can happen at any given moment, so you want to keep that spare set of tires in your back pocket for when you really need it. Other drivers may do what you want to do. Get the 35 lap run in. Okay, I can go make it 35 laps, go in, take some tires, see what my tire wear is. That's going to be the big factor. See what it is after a 35 lap run. A lot of these drivers go out and practice in the warm up and get as many laps as they possibly can on a set of tires to see if they're burning off either the right front or even the right rear. You also got to pay attention to your fuel as well. Like we said, 55 to 60 laps is going to be a fuel run. Can you make the tires last the whole 55 to 60 laps? I believe it can be done, but I mean, you really got to watch how you drive these cars. You want to kind of baby it a little bit going all the way in and through as we take a look at Jason Holdsworth in the Nitro number 8 Toyota Supra. All over the back bumper, the number 6 machine. He's going to look low of that Vermilion Esports number 6 of Lewis Greathead as Jason trying to work his way back up towards the front.
But as you mentioned, the line is starting to get higher now because we're over 30 laps in. You can see actually on the road it's actually quite dark up towards the top, and there you go. That's the first time I think we're in this section of the race where seen Greathead elect to run next to the wall. Haven't seen too much of that so far tonight as he has a look down the inside. Still Holdsworth still alongside, and he might well get through now. This will be another place made. He's started 10th, did Holdsworth. Now is looking for 7th on the inside line. Still going, but as you mentioned earlier, that inside line is going to get weaker and weaker, and Greathead intentionally holding the outside and properly running right next to the wall now. Nobody's cutting the white line anymore, as they always used to do at Atlanta. Actually, it always used to be, didn't it, about finding the white line and finding the low line, running on that line, but it's not particularly anymore. Meantime, Danson is under pressure from Winter as well for 2nd place.
Yeah, you see there, Danson moved up the racetrack, and with iRacing implementing the dynamic track, that's when you're going to see the multi-groove racing. Danson pinching the number 39 down just a little bit so that way he doesn't get a great exit coming off of turns number 1 and 2. Danson not going to have the momentum that he thought he was going to have coming off of turns number 2, and that's going to allow the number 38 of Bowen to make his entrance into this battle party up here for the 2nd position, as Ethan Winter almost gets the pass done going across the start-finish line on a Matt Danson. He's going to continue to take that high side. Nope, he's going to let him go. live to race another day. Matt Danson down to the inside, getting a little bit of clean air on the left front of that nose. Ethan Winter into the wall.
Oh, goodness me, that was close to an accident tonight. The first one it would have been. Winter finding the wall, very nearly spinning out completely. Danson avoided, but stepping around them both was Bowen. He just saw that evolving in front. He was probably watching, sitting back and watching and expecting maybe that to happen. And he expertly just got himself through the two of them there. And he's up to second place now. That's, smart driving. Shows you that, patience is sometimes what you need more than all-out racing. And Bowen just sat back there, saw what was happening in front of him, slipped straight through, and now he's into second place.
Yeah, especially at Atlanta, patience is going to be everything. Patience. You got to watch what the car is going to do here as everybody is starting to migrate up towards the middle and obviously the top lane. We see there the number 39 of Ethan Winter running that high side hustle. Matt Danson still has a little bit of faith down on that inside, and then you got Micklemore running the middle to high lane. He's going to have a great momentum coming off turn number 1 and 2. He's going to catch Matt Danson going into turn number 3 and 4.
Well, it's on board with Micklemore. We still run. It's a good run as well out of 4 over the line. Danson seems to be the one under pressure now. Our points leader coming into tonight, 21 points above the cut line. Not comfortable because there's 3 races in this round, but even so, he gets run around the outside of there by Micklemore. That was pretty easy actually in the end. Danson maybe has just taken a bit too much out of the tyres now. We're approaching, by the way, 2 seconds slower per lap than what we were running earlier on, and the track is only getting warmer. 113 degrees Fahrenheit on the circuit now. It's gone up by 6 degrees in the last 20 laps or so.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a killer as we go through the time all the way through here. We started at noon. It's going to be pushing towards the nighttime by the time this race is over. But like you said, 113 degrees out there on the racetrack as of right now. Wind is going to be northeast in the 7-mile-an-hour range. And then it's a little bit of a cloudy cover. Depending on which part of the track, you're going to have a little bit more grip in other places than not. And then you obviously have the 74% humidity out there as Josh Micklemore. He's going to try to run in that middle lane as Ethan Winter still on that outside. Everybody's still trying to do exactly what they need to do to keep that car straight as we have our first one down pit road. Jamie Ritchie going down to get his first service of the race.
And this could well bring a lot of guys on pit lane now as a result of this. It's only 40 laps complete for Ritchie, but we're about a third of the way through, and here comes Danson as well. So this is going to start the flurry of pit stops now. As soon as somebody comes, you've got to all go, because the drivers who pit in earliest, of course, will be gaining effectively 2 seconds a lap on the rest of the field. And so you've got to really think about this now. If you're Newman, even if you're in the lead of the race, you've got to think about when you're making your pit stop, and it's going to have to be soon.
Yeah, you can see there Brad Newman go down to the middle lane, giving that little bit of a body language like he was thinking about going into pit lane, but Brad Newman going to stay out 1 extra lap. And like you said, Ewan, this is going to be the make or break. The longer Brad Newman stays out on that racetrack and then Matt Danson and Jamie Ritchie come back out and get back up to full speed, Brad Newman's going to lose 2 to 2.5 seconds a lap on the Matt Danson and Jamie Ritchie. So definitely want to keep an eye on that, see exactly what happens with that as the run goes on. But Brad Newman not showing any signs of going into pit lane this early as we coming up on lap number 44 out of 125 laps at the Old Atlanta.
So he's still carrying on. I mean, surely the longer that he leaves it now, and indeed I think it may have already happened, that Danson is going to be our race leader when we're finished with the pit stops for the first time tonight. As we saw on the details earlier on, the race details earlier on, 55 to 60 laps expected here tonight in terms of fuel, but can anybody go 62, 63, which would allow them to sort of split this race into 2 with the fuel? And if it goes green, actually only make a 1-stop race. Personally, I think that is probably too much to ask to be able to go that far. But it's interesting that after those front two, Danson responded to Ritchie very quickly because they saw the pit window opening nicely, but nobody else has responded in the 3 laps after that.
Yeah, nobody going in so far as maybe they're trying to play the longevity of the run, or maybe even banking on a caution. Some people may not be comfortable with the transition from the racetrack down to the pit road. They don't want to make that dreaded green flag pit stop. I know me personally, Ewan, I wouldn't want to make a green flag pit stop. I don't like making green flag pit stops here, as we have Aaron Gilbert in pit lane in that number 03 machine.
This is the difference, isn't it? This is the visual difference between the older tyres and the new. It is just so pronounced. Last time round, Danson did a 31.4. That was exactly 2 seconds quicker than Newman and Winter, as Bowman and Mickelmore come into pit lane at the end of lap 46. But the damage is done in a sense. Danson is going to be the race leader in a moment. Now here's another couple of the top drivers, including one playoff driver, to come down pit lane. Surely the others, like Brad Newman, are going to respond now.
Yeah, Matt Danson currently last lap with a 31.3. In the leaders, last lap was a 33.5. So Matt Danson is the one looking to capitalize on that early pit stop, along with Jamie Ritchie. This is going to be the provisional leader as soon as everybody else starts making their pit stops. It's all about when you want to go in for your second and possibly your third if you can't make it the whole entire way after your second round of pit stops. But also, how hard do you want to drive on that second run? Do you want to save a little bit of tire for that last little bit of run, or do you want to try to just bum rush your way all the way up to the front?
Oh, such a dangerous pit entry here, isn't it? And such a difficult pit entry. Brad Newman slides it in from the lead of this race, and we'll see where he comes out in a moment. But Danson is the leader of those who pitted already. Bowen 10 seconds behind him. Josh Mickelmore next after that, with Jamie Ritchie only a couple of seconds behind those two. So I wonder whether Newman's going to be anywhere near the likes of Bowen and Mickelmore here, or whether he's going to be a little bit further up the road from them. But surely Danson is going to be race leader here in a moment. Out goes Newman, but before he's even left the pit lane, Danson goes past him. Where's Bowen going to be in relation to them? There's Danson, who's going to be the race leader. Bowen is too far back, I think, to actually take the place from Newman, who will keep. It's going to be close. There's going to be the car in the background coming up pretty quickly. 38 of Shane Bowen, but he's not quite going to get there in time. But Newman's under pressure for the first time tonight. Really, he's not the race leader for the first time, and that's going to be a big change for him as he runs in traffic and they dice their way through slower traffic. Some of whom are coming to pit lane. Tyler Williams now comes in from third.
Yeah, Tyler Williams now making his way down into pit lane. Ethan Winter, currently the race leader out on the racetrack. Then you got Lewis Greathead in the number 6 machine out there in P number 2. Third is going to be Fitzroy Beaumont, one of the drivers that we really haven't talked about here tonight, sitting in third position. And then obviously you got everybody else that has made their pit stop, going to make their way around this racetrack, get their laps back the hard way, as Ethan Winter down into pit lane this time by.
Winter's in, so is Lewis Greathead. And Bowman is the only one now staying out, along with Chapman, actually, who stays out as well. We've also got Henry King not having stopped yet, and he's not actually that far in front of Matt Danson, so that's an interesting call from King, a playoff driver who's taking it long at the moment in this pit stop phase. A speeding penalty, by the way, for Aaron Gilbert has put him laps down in the car 03. So Wayne Bork is still running laps down, we know that, because of his delay off of the start. But Gilbert a couple of laps down at the moment, and we might get a replay of his entry in a moment when the pit lane entries have all happened. Here comes Henry King into the pit lane. The last playoff driver now coming in off of the banking and down into pit lane from third position.
Yeah, making it 50 laps on a set of tires is actually really impressive for the majority of these drivers who have played the longevity of the tire run. Can't wait to see what these drivers say about the tires after that long 45 to 50 lap run that they had on these tires. As Fitzroy Beaumont still out in the race lead in the number 16 machine, wants to get enough points as he possibly can. Obviously not in the playoffs for the championship 4 or the round of 8 as of right now, but still just out there just having a little bit of fun. Like, hey, you know what, I get to lead some laps, and he's keeping the clean air. That's what a lot of this racetrack is all about. You can see he's moving up towards the middle of the racetrack, halfway through the center to exit of turns number 3 and 4, and Fitzroy Beaumont started 7th here tonight, currently sitting first. He's up 6 positions from where he has started. Not a bad look for that Vermilion Esports number 16.
Needs to go another 7 laps at the end of this one, though, if he wants to split this race in half. If we go green all the way, could well be a strategy that works. I mean, he's 13 seconds at the moment in front of Danson, who is the best of those who have pitted, but that's not going to happen. Oh, no, Bowman's not coming in. I thought he was staying low there to come into pit lane. There goes Winter past, I think. Is that going unlapping themselves? And Gilbert, sorry, unlapping himself to go 1 lap down rather than 2. So still some work to do there for Gilbert, but nevertheless is now just 1 lap down. Over 2 minutes in the pit lane for Lewis Greathead. I'm not sure if we know what's gone on there, but this is a long pit stop now for the 6 car, and he's dropping well out of contention here, sadly.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to have as your pit road be a faulty one. Either A, getting into the grass, going into pit lane, speeding, or even potentially sliding through your box, or anything that can damage your or hinder your race here tonight. Believe I seen a couple of drivers in a practice and then obviously in warm-up trying to get some green flag pit stops coming into pit lane. It's really easy, Ewan, to lock up the right front tire, and then obviously once you lock up a tire, you're just going to slide. You're not going to have any traction to get that car to turn. You got to hurry up, let off the brakes just to get that tire rolling back again, and you can chuck that car back to the left to get away from the grass. That is definitely something that you don't want to see going into pit lane, especially in a tight field like it is tonight, where points for the playoff drivers are extremely valuable. But like you said, Ewan, 3 races in this round to determine our championship 4.
There goes Danson past Chapman in car 7. He's still out there at the moment, so even if it is a one-stop strategy, you can see that it's turning out to be very, very difficult to actually make it work with the lack of speed that you have. Although, to be fair, when they come in, they'll have better tyres than the guys who are currently running out there on the newer tyres right now. I mean, Danson already is over a second off of best lap times because of the tyre drop-off. Newman's already 7/10 off of his best because of tyre drop-off, so it is going to be a reversal in a moment. There goes Chapman now behind Newman, who also comes through, but Brad Newman is bearing down on Matt Danson here, who is going to be leading this race. I don't know whether he's actually going to lead at halfway or whether he's going to be nearly leading, but there's Greathead still down pit lane. We'll see what happened to him if we can, but he's been in pit lane for nearly 5 minutes now, and looks like it's the end of his day, at least for a competitive result. It will be anyway at the end of his day, just inside the first half of the race.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to see. Lewis Greathead having an issue getting onto pit road, hitting the cone going into pit lane. So that's what I was talking about there, Ewan. The unsafe pit entry. How hard do you want to get into pit road? That cone comes up and sneaks up on you super quick. And when you're inside of a race car, depending on what you have your field of view set at, you possibly can't even see the yellow cone. You don't see it until you look in the rearview mirror and you can see if it's still right where they placed the cone here at their virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway, or you just don't want to hit that cone. As Fitzroy Beaumont making his first pit stop of the race here, coming on lap number 61 out of 125. So he stretched those tires 61 laps. Congratulate that is an amazing feat for the number 16.
Yeah, it's a fantastic job to be able to go that far on the set tyres. That seems to be the limit in terms of fuel as well, but can he save an extra few laps to go on one stop? I'm not sure if he will even try, to be honest, with the race situation the way it is. Lap 62 about to be complete. Around the halfway point of this lap, we'll be halfway in this race, would you believe it, already, in the Australian NASCAR Championship playoff round from Atlanta. It's the first of the round of 8, and Danson leads the race, although it's Brad Newman on fresher tyres. He waited a little bit longer to make his pit stop, and therefore he's not been leading for quite some time. In fact, it's been over 15 laps now since Brad Newman led a lap, but he's going to return now to lead some more laps, and he'll very soon get a half century of laps led tonight. Lap 63 complete. Brad Newman returns to the lead on those fresher tyres with an easy pass on Matt Danson.
Yeah, you've seen there going through turns number 1 and 2 last lap. Brad Newman got right up on the back bumper of Matt Danson, was able to use that momentum that he had with those fresher tires to get around Matt Danson. And look at the way that Brad Newman's pulling away just on the straightaway. It's not going to help Matt Danson that the car beside him is going to be running side by side. He can't get down to the bottom where he wants to be. He can't do what he needs to do to get through the corners as well as he needs to do it. But the longer those two stay side by side, the better it looks for Brad Newman. He's going to look in his mirror and be like, okay, yeah, I got him right where he wants to be. He's got a car down on his inside. They're going to stay side by side as much as they possibly can. That's going to allow me to pull away.
He's dancing on the outside of West, who's just gone a lap down as well. We've got just 8 on the lead lap now. So this long green flag run is putting a lot of guys in trouble. A little bit of wheel work here from Danson on the back of West, and you can see this is not a big difference between the pace in these two. They pitted on a very similar lap, these two, and so they're both on very similar speed as a result. Wayne Bork, meantime, comes into pit lane. This may be his last stop of the day if indeed it goes green to the end, but unfortunately it's just about riding round and getting points after that badly timed disconnection earlier on in the race.
Yeah, looking here so far, and with everybody doing what they need to do, it's always good to see this, just the amount of respect that a lot of these drivers have for one another, whether you're on older tires, newer tires, no matter what. If it just kind of like me, if I'm down there on the racetrack racing with all these drivers down here on the racetrack, if I know that they're a little bit faster than me, I'm going to go ahead and move on over. Hey, buddy, here, go ahead, take it. I don't want to be in your way. I know you got a faster race car than me. This is all open setup, Ewan. So whatever these drivers want to do going down into pit lane, they can adjust the tire pressures. They can adjust the perch on the race car. They can adjust anything they can just by a little bit that pit road adjustments allow. But that makes it for a car that's a lot more trimmed out. If you need to be a little bit more tighter on the long run, if you need to be a little bit more looser, you can do that with just a click of a button down in the pit lane to get your car set up the way that you need it to be. And then obviously you can change the fuel. If you want to put in half a tank of fuel, you can do that. If you want to put in 2 full tanks of fuel, absolutely be my guest. Do what you need to do as Jason Holdsworth. Now looking at cracking the top 5 right behind Josh Micklemore in 4th position.
Holdsworth also will be looking behind him, because in behind Tyler Williams is closing. They pitted similar laps, so these two should have similar speed. Well, they do at the moment in 5th and 6th. Just over 7 seconds off of the best lap time. Sorry, off the race leader, I should say. There are the laps where everybody pitted, by the way. So Newman is on fresher tyres than the next 3 behind him. Danson, Bowen, Micklemore. Then you've got this battle who are very similar. Winter's very similar to them as well. Ethan Winter, who's currently running in 7th place. Jamie Ritchie pitted early, as we know, so he's dropping a bit further as a result. West closing on him. Bowman pitted later than pretty much anybody else, other than Bork, who is not in contention for this, although Bork's lap, of course, only 59 because he's 2 laps down. So Bowman should be the one moving forward in this part of the race. Brenton West will be next on his list. Henry King then 52. Chapman also pitted pretty late on, so should be moving through the field, and indeed might be making a pass on Henry King pretty soon as well. But this is a long green flag run to start this race, which is And the field has spread out quite significantly as well. Not sure what people would have been expecting from Atlanta, but getting the first 70 laps complete under green flag racing may not have been on everyone's list.
Yeah, especially with how Atlanta normally gets. With the hotter the weather, the slicker the track's going to be. As you know, Atlanta has that little nickname, Hot Atlanta. It can go either way. It could be a long green flag It could be a long green flag run like we see here tonight, or it could be a little bit of cautions throughout the entire race. A lot of drivers tend to not take tires under cautions coming up. Just depends on how many laps they have on the tires. And then once that does happen, that's when you're going to start seeing, okay, who's going to be able to get on the throttle as quickly as they can, but safely as they can. As the outside lane here on a restart is massively different than the inside lane on the restart. And then the older tires just don't mix on this old surface.
It's unbelievably bumpy around this circuit, and this version of this circuit, as we've already talked about. It's what used to give this circuit such character, I felt, back in the day. The Atlanta Motor Speedway had a repave in 1997, but didn't have anywhere near the amount of effect as the 2021 repave had on this venue. And the bumps have been completely eradicated. It's now a mini super speedway, but in my opinion it's sort of the worst of both worlds. But anyway, inside for Chapman as he gets to 11th ahead of Henry King. No surprise there, considering the tyre life for Chapman. Brenton West and Fitzroy Beaumont will be next on his list, and Beaumont is about to make a pass on Brenton West, actually. Up into 9th place. Fitzroy Beaumont just missing out, of course, on the round of 8 by only a few points in the end. It was very, very close. I think a singular point, actually, at the end of the previous round of the playoffs. It's playoffs racing for you, though, as Beaumont looks to the inside. Again, should be on fresher tyres, so should be moving forward quickly, and you kind of need to make these passes efficiently when you're on the fresher tyres. And there goes Beaumont through into 9th position. First goal, 1 lap down at the moment.
Yeah, what Fitzroy Beaumont wants to see is a caution, but not involve him, so he can get the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap. But with the way that Fitzroy Beaumont's running as of right now, he can make that position up, get his lap back, as we have a good little battle on that racetrack between Josh Micklemore and the number 7 of Sam Chapman. Not battle for position by any means, but still going to be a good little battle going through the corners, as Jason Holdsworth was able to catch up to Josh Micklemore just a little bit going through that last lap, as Josh Micklemore had to buy his time around that lap traffic of the number 7 machine, as both Josh Micklemore and Jason Holdsworth, Nitro Racing entries, running that outside lane.
Also seeing Beaumont catch Matt Danson now up, so it's 2nd place. The battle on your screen off of 4 and across the start finish line, as they see a lap car trying to get out the way. Oh, not doing a great job of getting out the way there. I'm not sure who that was on the inside line there. Don't know how to identify the number, but can't do it from that distance. But anyway, Danson under pressure, and this is going to be Beaumont going through. We see the tyre drop off, especially towards the end of these stints, is very, very severe indeed. But if you're going to split this race into thirds, then you're going to want to be pitting rather soon. Lap 83, 84, something like that, you want to come in. So while Danson does look a bit at sea at the moment, I think he'll be coming into pit lane pretty soon, and therefore getting some new tyres on, and that will end up doing exactly the same thing as what he did or managed to do in the previous run.
Yeah, you see there Matt Danson trying to do everything he possibly can to keep the number 38 machine behind him, but that's not going to be enough, as Shane Bowen down to the inside. Matt Danson going to run that middle lane. Shane Bowen going to run up towards that middle lane, try to keep his car off the white line. Both drivers trying to go for the same position, wants to keep it right where he is, but Shane Bowen, now currently P2 on the leaderboard, he's going to be able to get clear using that inside lane on Matt Danson. Matt Danson Just going to go ahead and let him go on by, but here comes the number 7 of Sam Chapman trying to make his way all the way up through, trying to get his laps back.
Yep, second driver 1 lap down at the moment, so Beaumont can't be very far away from Newman actually, and unlapping himself the old-fashioned way, although Jamie Ritchie is about to go a lap down as well, so it's all going to get very complicated for these guys, battling for the first car 1 lap down, side by side, and very nearly side-to-side contact between Chapman and Bowen. Chapman will slip through on the inside line though, and indeed unlap himself from those two, but it's not great news for Bowen. He wants to use the tyres while he's got them right now and doesn't necessarily have them to fend off those around him, unfortunately. So we complete lap 81 here, and pit stop. Danson's coming in, so just inside the final third of this race. We're not quite there yet, but Danson wants a bit of an undercut again, much like what he did in the first run. He's trying to do it again.
Yeah, with it looking like this, Matt Danson going in that early, I don't know if that was the right call there, Ewan. Obviously, you want to have the freshest tires coming to the end of this race, but was it the right call to go in on lap number 82 of the last little bit of the run? It could play out in his defense. You may never know. I mean, anything can happen, especially here in Atlanta. You know, Brad Newman could have a really bad pit stop or even possibly overdrive his car the first couple laps, and then towards the end of the run, he could be extremely loose coming to the checkered flag. So Matt Danson just trying to get into the head of Brad Newman just a little bit, but with Brad Newman and the way that he always races, I don't think anything can get inside of that man's head.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it should be. If you're one of these drivers in this series. 4 playoff drivers at the moment in the bottom 5 places, and Greathead seems to have called it a day, so call it the bottom 4 right now, outside the top 10, which is pretty unusual. But of course that's partly due to pit stops that are still ongoing at the moment, and in fact have only just kicked off really for what could be the final time tonight. If this is going to be a green flag run the entire way through the race, then these will be the last green flag pit stops, but everybody's kept at least 1 set of tyres back for the later part of this race, should there be another caution, which is pretty smart driving. I mean, and there is a caution on the. Oh, it's Jamie Ritchie. Jamie Ritchie on the way towards turn 1 brings out the caution. Danson is going to be trapped a lap down, and only 6 on the lead lap as we see the first caution of the night with about 40 to go.
Yeah, that's definitely not what Matt Danson wanted to see. Brad Newman. Oh. Definitely not what Jamie Ritchie.
Chapman.
Oh.
Chapman hit Ritchie as he was spinning across the circuit. See what happened here? I mean, Newman's trying to get past. Ritchie doesn't want to quite give it up and completely pull off the road to let that happen. He ends up spinning across the circuit, and there goes Chapman. Couldn't quite see where Ritchie was going to end up, and he ends up going straight into him. Let's see what Chapman saw. I mean, he sees the spin happening in front of him. Could slow down, still could slow down, doesn't slow down, and there you go. Gets clipped in towards turn 1, and that will be damage there as well. Although he seems to have got away with it. Oh well, no, he hasn't. His front right is completely out of shape there. Oh dear, and it's now missing. Actually, it's completely missing now as he's trying to get himself actually into the pit box to get his team to service that car. Have a look at it. Oh, and that might be the end of that. Actually, he might well call it a day, or not. We'll see what he decides to do. But that was a pretty big hit there for Chapman. Meantime, the leaders come past the pit lane, and the leaders indeed come into pit lane. No surprise, Brad Newman leads them all on.
Brad Newman going to lead these drivers back into pit lane, and everybody is going to be on the same strategy now, Ewan. This is going to be really nice to see. Obviously, Matt Danson didn't want to see the caution come out just because he just pit. He wanted to be able to stay out there just a couple more laps, have those tires come out. But I think, honestly, the way that I kind of look at it now, it's kind of a blessing in disguise for Matt Danson, too. He's only going to have maybe a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps on those tires. I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference between those 2 lap different tires, just because Matt Danson really wasn't all the way back up to speed and burning those tires off. But the timely cautions. I mean, for one, having a caution come out on lap number 87 out of 125, absolutely great racing for the first part of this race.
This is pretty slow for Ethan Winter, who is still down on pit lane after 38 seconds. Not sure what was going on there, but Winter will come out in 7th place. Jamie Ritchie will get some repairs, and so will Chapman down on pit lane. So this is why Wayne Bork has been continuing on, because when you see these guys laps down, become laps down because of the incidents, you understand Bork's strategy here. He's going to stay out and just pick up points wherever he can, and in fact he's actually out ahead of Newman at the moment, so he's unlapped himself once. There goes the 1 lap to go signal. The lights off on top of the pace car, so West and Danson both go on the lead lap again with the wave around. Bork now 5 laps down with the wave around as well, and there are going to be 9 drivers back on the lead lap ready for this restart.
I wonder, Ewan, if Ethan was down in the pit lane for 38 seconds, fixing that damage that he got earlier in this race when he tapped the wall in front of Danson. I wonder if he had any rear end damage or even possibly front right fender damage after collecting the outside wall while battling a little bit hard with Matt Danson earlier in this race. That could be a possibility. Going down into pit lane, getting all that damage fixed, but going through turns number 3 and 4 to get our first official restart of tonight's race here at Atlanta.
Surprising, isn't it, that we haven't had one for the first 80 laps, more than. We were even getting the start of a new green flag cycle of pit stops, but they came to an end very, very abruptly, and the pace car now pulls in. For the first time tonight, it's a restart. Brad Newman in control of the field again. 37 to go from Atlanta.
Brad Newman gets a really good restart down on that inside. Possibly going to look at 3 wide towards the back of the pack, but no, they're going to cycle back down to 2 wide. This is going to bunch the whole field back up. Like I said, everybody's now on the same strategy. Everybody had a different strategy through the entirety of this race, but Shane Bowen under heavy pressure from Jason Holdsworth, who's down on the inside. Josh Micklemore on that outside with Ethan Winter down on the inside. 3 cars on that outside, 3 down on the inside. But it looks like it's going to be the outside that is going to prevail for that P2 position.
It's looking close for these leaders. As I mentioned, 9 on the lead lap, although West came straight into pit lane there, Brenton West, so I'm not sure what he's doing at the moment, and it's going to leave us with just 8 on the lead lap, side by side between Bowen and Holdsworth, still and tight in towards 3 there for those two. Holdsworth on the inside line is going to try and prevail, but as we saw in the first laps of the green flag run, right at the very start of the race here, actually took a little while for the field to get spread apart, and this could be a very, very congested field for quite some time yet. With Brad Newman leading, he's not exactly getting away yet.
Yeah, you can see there, even though with Jason Holdsworth and Shane Bowen being side by side, Brad Newman's not able to pull away. I wonder if he's just kind of backing up his pace just a little bit, letting off the throttle a little bit earlier, trying to keep them both in the draft, trying to keep his tires conservative as much as he possibly can. Because obviously right now, Ewan, with the 38 being on that outside, Jason being down on the inside, these two are going to run their hardest laps of their life, trying to get that spot, trying to be back down to single file, but it's still going to be the 8 down on the inside, and then you got the 38 up on that outside as they finally got it all figured out. Jason Holdsworth going to go ahead and back out of it and fall back in line to make it a single car or single file line all the way through the top 4.
Less than half a second is the gap between all of them. Ethan Winter now moves through to the inside for 3rd position. Of course, had that long pit stop under the caution, hearing that would have been to just clean up a couple of repairs that he might have had at the end of the long green flag run over 80 laps at the beginning of this race. It was clearly minor damage as we saw him at the time, but he's running well now, and he's looking for 3rd. Holdsworth on the outside line. And it's noticeable, isn't it, again, as they're all on new tyres again, noticeable how they're all sort of sticking to the white line again on the inside line where they weren't before. Here goes Bowen for the race lead on Newman, who enters through the middle. Oh, Bowen goes up the track, very nearly into the side of him. And now Newman goes a bit high. Here comes Holdsworth in the background as well. This is tight for the race lead.
Absolute tight for the race lead, but where does Jason Holdsworth go? Jason Holdsworth is going to be pinned to that outside lane. He's going to try to make it, looking to make it 3 wide, coming off the corner, going to think better of it. He's going to snag back down right behind Brad Newman. Shane Bowen now side by side with the number 8 machine, and look who's behind. The battle for second is going to be Ethan Winter. Can he just play this a little bit smart, be a little bit patient, see what happens between these two as they finally get it back down to single file?
30 to go at the end of this one. Newman and Holdsworth 1 and 2, followed by Bowen, and then Winter, who is on the back of this group and got traffic to get through if he wants to lead this race in the next 30 laps. There it is, 30 laps to go tonight at Atlanta, the first part of these playoffs in the round of 8 in the Australian NASCAR Championship tonight. Down the backstretch again, this is a pretty tight field all the way through, still 8 on the lead lap, and the front 4 are the ones who are super close together, although Newman is still controlling this race, as he has controlled much of the what is it, 96 laps we're about to have completed now.
Shane Bowen up on the outside wall, coming off turns number 3 and 4. As we had a nice little onboard camera on the number 38 machine, you can see how much he's got to steer that car going through the corner. It's not just lock it to the left and it'll hold, kind of like you're doing in your normal daily driving car. You got to really play with that wheel. You got to saw it a little bit going through the corners as we ride on board with Ethan Winter, the number 39 machine. You can see there he's got to straighten it back up, getting a little bit loose going through the center of the corner, and he's carrying so much momentum, just staying right in that draft, almost tacking out all the way down that front stretch.
A little bit higher from Holdsworth through 1 and 2. He's not going to get the exit as a result. Holdsworth going to get a run on Newman if he wants it in towards turn 3. And says higher again. Newman almost taking his line away actually through 3 and 4. In the background, Michael Moore is closing in again, along with Williams as well in 5th and 6th position. It's Tyler Williams, who's back to where he started in this race at 6th place, and he's just hanging around on the back of these guys at the moment. It's a tense battle out front. Newman has led so long tonight, but he's not a serial winner this year in 2025 just yet. But this would go a long, long way to putting him in the final 4. Of course, the race victory here would do exactly that straight away. And he has led so many. There it is, 84 laps. I thought it would be edging towards 100 at this stage, actually, as we're also getting towards 100 laps in the race. That's 99 completed now, and Newman has only not led 14 of them. That's how much control he's had over this field. He deserves to win this, but it's not about who deserves to win, it's about who actually does in 26 laps time, and Holdsworth still applies that pressure in second.
Yeah, Holdsworth applying the pressure as best as he possibly can, but he knows Brad Newman is one of those drivers that'll make you overdrive yourself if you aren't too careful. So when driving against Brad Newman, you kind of want to mind your P's and Q's. You don't want to do exactly what Brad Newman does. You kind of want to set your own pace, but have enough pace to stay with Brad Newman, as I've ran with him in other series with the ANC, the ANC Truck Series, where, it got a little dicey at Bristol, as Micklemore down on the inside of Shane Bowen. He's looking to take over P number 4.
And it does now. So Bowen loses a couple of places in these last couple of minutes, unfortunately for him. He was the best, well, he still is the best non-playoff driver, but he is dropping down the field. There goes Holdsworth looking to the inside of Newman. Less than 25 to go. We've only completed over 100 laps here tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway in the first round, in the round of 8. And here is Holdsworth trying to apply that pressure to Brad Newman. What a great battle between these two. They seem so evenly matched in this late green flag run to the finish, but so far Newman has had all the answers required.
Yeah, Brad Newman having the clean air on that number 1 machine, just driving Miss Daisy out here on this beautiful Sunday morning over here in the United States, as Jake Holdsworth using that outside lane, high side hustle, trying to get the momentum on the number 1 machine. He's going to have the momentum, but is he going to have the momentum to carry it in the corner? Here we go, side by side into turn 3.
Holdworth takes the lead briefly into 3. Brad Newman on the high side as they'll start to run that higher line now with these wearing tyres. Newman's trying to hold on, but Holdworth is going to get the nose in front by the start-finish line. First lap led tonight, indeed, for Jason Holdsworth, who is up 9 places, by the way. He started in 10th position tonight, and he's running really well in the race, just in comparison to his qualifying. But here comes the run from Newman on the outside. He's going to get the lead back again.
Looking at how quick the tables can turn. Jason Holdsworth having that really good run down up on that outside, taking it down to the inside, getting the lap led on Brad Newman. But here comes Ethan Winter, and don't count out the 31 of Josh Micklemore. Josh Micklemore could be in contention here for a race win if these three get to battle. And here comes Ethan Winter down to the inside.
Looks to the inside and can't get through at the moment. Winter is going to do his best to get in the way of these guys at the moment. Micklemore as well, who's in 4th position. Newman has got himself back to the front though with 20 to go. Now what's Winter going to do with Holdworth here? Holdworth is, I think, seeing the threat from behind, and maybe that's why he sort of went for the move at the stage that he did, because he sees the threat of Winter behind and he doesn't want that to have an effect on this race. Here goes Winter to the inside. Is he 3 wide? Not quite. They all nearly make contact there, but Newman keeps the lead. Here comes Winter for 2nd.
Winter down to the inside on Jason Holdsworth. Micklemore going to follow suit in that Chevy Camaro down to the inside. They're going to be side by side coming off of turns number 4. And it's going to be Jason Holdsworth holding on to P number 2 for the time being. But Ethan Winter has the kind of an advantage down to the inside. He's still running that inside lane. Doesn't want to go up to the top just yet. But Jason Holdsworth holding strong on that outside with a little bit of looseness, a little bit of a wall tap from the number 8 machine.
Oh, trouble! And there's trouble for Holdsworth and Winter. We were hearing they may well come to blows tonight, and they have done in the late stages here tonight at Atlanta. Holdsworth and Winter will now really be at each other's throats. Let's see how it happened. Winter on the inside in 39. Holdsworth on the outside in car 8. Holdsworth is in the wall and Winter comes across, or does Holdsworth come across, and Micklemore actually ends up in the wall as a result as well. That is going to be one talked about between these two for a long time.
Yeah, you can see there, Jason Holdsworth gets a little bit loose going through the corner, gets into the wall a little bit. There, right there. Gets into it maybe just a little bit, then Holdsworth trying to get away from the wall. Ethan Winter coming up to side draft. Just both drivers meeting right smack dab in the middle, just trying to fight for every inch on the racetrack, trying to slow each other down to get the better upper hand on one another, and just too close to call for racing right there.
It was very, very close. I think they both have their conflicting views on that in this post-race, if you like. As the opportunity to come in is now upon us again, by the way. 17 to go at the moment, and you'd say, Dylan, that this is sort of, there's no other option here. You've sort of got to come into pit lane, take your final set of tyres right now.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to start this race on older tires, especially with everybody coming down into pit lane on fresher tires. You don't want to be the odd man out. Yes, it could potentially work if we had cautions after cautions after cautions. Those tires could potentially work in your favor. But with only 17 laps to go here tonight, you definitely want to have those fresh tires and have that advantage. But now we're going to see a late race. Caution, 17 laps to go here, Ewan. You're going to see a little bit different style racing here tonight. You don't have to save a lot of tire. I mean, you got to save it a little bit, but you can drive it a little bit harder than what you have on those longer green flag runs that we've seen here tonight.
So, yeah, Newman is going to lead them out. There's a number of repairs happening, by the way, for some of them a bit further back. Micklemore and Holdsworth, unsurprisingly, are two of them who have to do some repairs. And they'll get some of those optionals done. I don't think any of them have got meatballs, but they do certainly have damage at least. And Gilbert gets back out onto the circuit again, back on the lead lap again, just about. Holdsworth now gets going. Mickelmore will do the same. Yeah, so there'll be 9 on the lead lap, maybe even more actually, as King and West will take the wave around here. So they get to 11 on the lead lap. There go the wave rounds. Wayne Bork's going to get 4 laps down. So he needs another 4 cautions, but anyway, he is now the first car 1 lap down. So that's the thing with these cautions, gets people back on the lead lap, but it may well be just a bit too late for them. 15 to go with this second restart of the day looming, and what a finish this is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely going to be a fantastic finish that we're all going to be geared up for. They're going to come around to take 14 laps to go on the racetrack here tonight. And right there, you got the top 6. All lined up behind the pace car. You got Brad Newman in first, Shane Bowen in second, Ethan Winter in third, Brad Danson in fourth. In 5th position, you have Tyler Williams, and then you got Fitzroy Beaumont still in that top 10, trying to show what's up to these playoff drivers. Like, hey, you know what? I may not be in the playoffs, but I can still have the potential to win a race if I need to, as pace car going to dive off for the second time here tonight. 3rd time, excuse me.
Indeed, yeah. Second restart, but 3rd time tonight as the field is brought back to green. 15 to go for Atlanta, and there's trouble! Trouble off the start! And that was a bad push on Bowen, who went straight across the front of Holdsworth. Somehow we stay green here at the beginning of this one. Holdsworth is going to drop through the field as a result of that. Not sure whether it was a bad push for Bowen or whether he got the rear tyre spun up, but he spins across the racetrack down to the bottom, and somehow we stay green.
Ethan Winter getting involved in that, as well as Shane Bowen went down across the nose of Ethan Winter, as we get a nice little replay here. See exactly what happened between the number 38 machine on that outside lane, and this is what I was talking about. That outside lane gets a little bit swirly, and Ethan Winter having an issue there. We're going to see how much damage that number 39 machine has on the front nose, as that's going to push Matt Danson up to P number 2.
Yeah, I just lost it there. Sorry, it wasn't Holdsworth. It was, you're right, it was Winter who was involved in that 39. So, yeah, just spun the rear tyres upon his own. And surprising that there was no caution, actually. But either way, we stay green. Danson versus Newman for the race lead. Matt Danson has got, of course, slightly older tyres than everybody else. Or did have, but now he's got the fresh tyres along with everybody else. He seems to be pretty punchy now, and he's closing on Newman. 2 playoff drivers, and if this race stays green to the finish, it looks like they're the only 2 playoff drivers who can really win from here, because they're the only 2 inside the top 4. Gilbert is then in 5th place, and then you've got some bigger gaps to those further behind. There are playoff drivers dotted all throughout this field here tonight, and they are at the moment losing points to the likes of Newman and Danson, but possibly losing the chance to advance straight away, as what Newman is going to get right now.
Yeah, looking here, with that final pit stop, I was going to throw anything I could to try to make that car as low to the ground as possible, put it kind of in qualifying trim, so to speak, for these last 14 laps, as we have 12 laps to go. Fitzroy Beaumont currently sitting P number 3, started 7th on the field. He's starting to catch on the back bumper of Matt Danson, who's running currently P number 2. Matt Danson painting that white line. Brad Newman running about half a car width higher than what Matt Danson's running. As we take another look back here, Ethan Winter on that outside with Brenton West down on his inside.
And we've got also involved here Henry King. He's also one of our playoff drivers. Brenton West is not, of course. Side to side with Winter there, though. It's very close. King is actually just behind a lap car here that's sat in there. That's Wayne Bork just in front of us. Still 4 laps down. Still requiring more cautions for him to get back onto the lead lap, which is not going to happen tonight. But he has picked up 3 places since he continued on from the very back of the field. So it has been worthwhile for him tonight as he looks to advance as well. He will lose some points, but he will still be there or thereabouts by the end of the season. Winter gets in the wall a little bit there, and so Brenton West allowed to keep 7th place just for the moment. These guys, though, a long way off the leaders. They're a third of a lap down already, even though we only restarted a few laps ago. 9 to go, including the one we've just begun, and Newman still leads ahead of Matt Danson, who's trying some different lines now to try and get past Newman, and I always think that's a bad sign, really, when you're sort of searching for a different line. That's when you know you've not got the actual car speed. You've got to go and look for it here. You can see Danson working away, trying to find that speed. 8 laps to go before the finish here.
Yeah, Matt Danson is dancing right now. As you look out front of that windshield, Brad Newman running that outside lane, trying to keep that momentum up. Matt Danson running the middle lane right on that first seam, trying to find the momentum. He doesn't want to run right in the tire tracks of Brad Newman. Brad Newman, he's going to go back down to the inside. And then you got Matt Danson running that inside lane as well. So tire tracks in 3 and 4. 1 and 2 is going to be a little bit of a different story. Brad Newman going to possibly run the outside. Then you got Danson going to run the inside, trying to get his way back up there towards the front and see if he just can't lead a little bit more laps here tonight.
Bowman is actually closer to getting past Danson than anything else. Don't forget the later stops will have happened for some of these guys as well, or at least the potential here. Brenton West, for example, is on older tyres at the moment, so earlier stops, I guess is what I mean. That's why he's on the defensive at the moment from Mickelmore, who moves up to 6th place, and Bowen, King and Winter, who are all there as well. Bowen now goes through, but this is the view from Bowman. Great recovery, car 16 and currently running in the top 3, but do either of these two have enough speed to overhaul Brad Newman, who certainly deserves to win this race, but is he going to at the end of 125 laps as we go back to that second group? Really tight race car there for Mickelmore. Goodness me, wonder if he's got damage maybe. King's going to go straight through. That's Bork unlapping himself. It's a horrible looking race car at the moment.
Yeah, you can see there, Josh Mickelmore has a little bit of right-sided damage on that number 31 machine. A little bit tight. He's going to be up into the outside wall, and that's another thing with these Xfinity cars. These cars get a little bit of damage on that right front, right rear, or even possibly the nose. You're going to lose a lot of aerodynamics on that number on any car, as the 39 going to come up, take that position away from Josh Mickelmore, as he's got some front-end damage as well from that late race incident on that restart.
Well, just 4 to go now for Brad Newman. As I say, deserves to win this race tonight. He has led not quite every lap, but near enough. He's led over 100 of the 125 here tonight. Did have a real race on the the first caution restart. But this second one, he's been much more under control. And Danson behind him has not quite had the speed to overhaul him, although it'd be great points for Matt Danson, who comes into today, of course, with the most points of the playoff drivers. Newman certainly doesn't, and will want to get away from that cut line with a victory. 2.5 laps to go, and Danson's got to find something extra special here in the last 3 miles.
Yeah, Danson got to really grunt or dig deep to find some extra speed out of that car, and I think one thing that he could have done was possibly maybe run the outside in turns number 3 and 4, and maybe moved up to the outside in turns number 1 and 2, trying to get back up to Brad and Newman. So far it's working in 1 and 2, but I think he might have ran out of laps to get back to the back bumper of that number 1 machine.
Yeah, run out of laps and maybe run out of speed as well here, because he gains in the first part of the corner, it seems, but he doesn't have the drive off that Brad Newman does. Off for 4. White flag is in the air. 1 more lap to go from Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Brad Newman is just 1.5 miles away from a famous victory here. He'll double his tally for 2025. And he will take perhaps his most crucial victory of the season here in the round of 8. Quarter of a second. Danson's throwing everything at this. You can see him absolutely pushing hard. Richie is trying to go an extra lap down, by the way, and he's going to pull completely out of the way. So fair play to him, and Newman will be thankful as well, because that will allow him the clear run to the finish. Brad Newman, off of 4, is going to win at Atlanta. The first round in the round of 8 goes to Brad Newman. A vital victory at a crucial point in the season, and Brad Newman wins in Atlanta.
Congratulations to Brad Newman getting the race win. Danson giving a little bit of a bump, showing him some great sportsmanship there between the 30 and the number 1 machine. Those two drivers, a lot of respect for one another. Great to see them both finish 1-2 here tonight.
And there's the respect going all the way down the line. Richie as well, who wanted to go an extra lap down there towards the finish. Finishes 13th place tonight. And indeed, Brad Newman's going to pull on to the start finish straight to do some burnouts, some donuts as well. Must be absolutely delighted. Only didn't lead 16 laps of that race. An unbelievable effort from the driver of number 1 as he burns it down now on the front stretch. There he goes. Donuts for him. What a fantastic performance it was here tonight from him. Absolutely dominating and absolutely deserved it as well. But you've got to execute at the end, and Brad Newman certainly did. By the way, for the remainder of the playoffs, it's going to be, or indeed for the remainder of this round, it's going to be Talladega coming up for race 2 and Las Vegas for race number 3. So buckle up for those 7 drivers still remaining in the round of 8 looking for race victories. But it's Brad Newman tonight who wins ahead of Matt Danson and Fitzroy Beaumont, who finishes in the top 3. Tyler Williams and Aaron Gilbert ran up top 5. Gilbert was pretty quiet tonight, but ends up with a top 5 in the third place of those who are in the playoffs. Shane Bowen then, a bit of a gap back to him with Brenton West struggling on old tyres towards the end there. Henry King, Ethan Winter, Josh McElmore and Jason Holdsworth, the last drivers on the lead lap. Wayne Buck soldiered on to finish 4 laps down in the end in 12th place. Jamie Ritchie, Sam Chapman and Lewis Greathead were multiple laps down towards the finish here tonight. Let's have a chat, shall we, to Fitzroy Beaumont first of all, who's popped himself in the waiting room already in 3rd place. Fitzroy, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congrats on a 3rd place finish tonight from Atlanta. I must say, we saw you riding around towards the back in the first part of the race, but really climbed those positions late on. Tell us a little bit about your race, how you managed to get up to 3rd place.
Yeah, I qualified as per usual, but pretty early on, decided to save my tyres as much as possible. So I was fine with creeping back at the start, and then with about 15 laps left to go, I sort of figured out that I could get home on a 1-stop. So I made it run pretty long, and thanks to Scott Rankin, he was helping me out a lot in the year, and we figured out we could do just 1 stop, and then we were in a really good spot coming out of that first pit stop, and then unfortunately the caution came, but that's okay. Like, still finished with the podium. That's way more than I was expecting coming in tonight. So yeah, really happy, really pleased with that.
And how is it to bounce back as well from not being involved in the playoffs? It's, you're in the minority tonight of non-playoff drivers versus the 8 guys who are fighting for the title as well. How was it sort of bouncing back from the disappointment of not being involved in that to having a good run tonight?
Yeah, it's obviously disappointing and not what I wanted. I had 2 really, really poor rounds and at the start, and through fault of my own, and also a bit of bad luck. And then obviously had to claw my way back through, and it didn't happen. So it was just planning on turning up, helping out the Team Conti guys, particularly Ethan and Wayne, do whatever we can to sort of help as much as we can within the rules. But certainly wasn't expecting P3 tonight, that's for sure.
Well, congrats on getting that P3 tonight, and thanks for coming to chat to us after the race as well.
Oh yeah. Can I just thank the NA Sports guys and the Vortex guys, Team Conti Sim Performance, professional NASCAR E-Series racing setups, Burb Designs, thekartshop.com.au, Supernova Motorsports, Lewis Greathead Online Coaching, and a big thanks to all the million guys, and particularly Scott and Ethan as well.
Thanks again for coming to chat to us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at Talladega.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Thanks so much. Fitzroy Beaumont, 3rd place tonight. Our best placed non-playoff driver here tonight. Matt Danson, we'll work our way the wrong way up the podium, shall we? Matt Danson finished in 2nd place tonight, just missing out on race victory, and he joins us now as well. Matt, welcome in. Good to have you with us. 2nd place for you tonight. Is that sort of points gained for you, or an opportunity missed, do you think, to win the race tonight? What do you think?
Oh, great question. There's a few different ways to look at it, I guess. I mean, I'm obviously a little bit hurt that, like Brad was dominant. And, obviously that's as a racer and competitor, you don't want to be put away like that. And I don't I don't reckon I had anything for him, no matter what the situation or conditions. So that part hurts. I think second was probably on the cards. Had that yellow sort of in the pit cycles not come out, because I was pretty confident I was on a good like it would balance itself out nicely with the strat. And I'd made some adjustments as well that should have made me better long run. Definitely made me better on the long run. That second one, I was much more competitive than the first. And I think I just overcooked it in the first one a little bit, and that sort of put me behind the 8 ball. But even at that very last run, I kind of thought maybe I'd have something for Brad a little bit, but I just went a little bit too far on the adjustments in that last pit stop, and it was just too loose to be able to attack. And then once it started coming to me, and I felt like I started having a little bit of speed, it was too little, too late. It was those last couple of laps. So, I mean, never happy with a second place per se, but I mean, so far throughout the entirety of the playoffs, we've not been off the podium. So I'm pretty happy with that. And if I can, sort of keep that form going, we should hopefully get through this next round. And that's obviously the main focus at this point.
Yeah, exactly. It is good points. Since you mentioned pit stops, I want to mention something else on that front. I mean, you were the first stopper, I think, both times, actually, when we had 2 green flag cycles, or we were about to have 2 green flag cycles of pit stops. We did have one, and then you started off what would have been a second one before the caution came out. What was your reasoning for going for the early stop? Obviously the undercut, but you're always going to sort of repay that a little bit later on when everybody else has fresher tyres. So what was the thinking behind you sort of starting the cycle both times?
Yeah, it's a great call. I mean, you definitely pay the price on the other end, but just based on the fuel situation, I knew. Well, I was pretty confident. I obviously saw a couple of those guys almost make it to halfway, but I was pretty confident you wouldn't be able to do it. And if you did, you'd be on really struggling tire-wise anyway. And I don't know. I sort of felt like I was hoping that some would go a bit longer, and then that offsets my advantage on the next cycle. So they don't really get as much bang for their buck on their greens before I come out with some freshies as well. So, if you're going to do it, you got to kind of go. There's no point half. I was going to say a naughty word. No point going half-hearted. We'll say that. If you're going to do something, you got to kind of go full. So that's sort of what I was trying there. And like I said, I think it was going to pay off with a second, but I don't think. Like I said, under any circumstance, I had anything for Brad. I think he had it completely locked down.
Yeah, it seems that way. Is there anybody like to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, obviously all the team at Altus and Altus Engineering. I have on good authority that's the setup that won the race as well, which actually adds to the pain. So out of the box, Altus Engineering setup 1-2, which is nice. But VRS, Virtual Racing School, everyone that puts on the comp and behind the scenes does all the work there. Shout out, of course, as well, most importantly to my family, so my wife and our boys, for allowing me to, take a bit of time away just to run the race tonight. Didn't do them fully proud, but hopefully at least I'm allowed back in the house.
Congrats on second place tonight, Matt, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. That's Matt Danson finishing second tonight at Atlanta, and Brad Newman. Let's welcome in the main man who has won tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Brad, welcome in. Congratulations on the win. I mean, those couple of late race restarts must have concerned you a bit, because you had great pace when we were running long green flag runs. Tell us about how you managed to execute those 2 restarts to take you to a win.
Yeah, thanks, mate. No, it wasn't too bad, really, as it has been lately. My biggest concern is lap drivers with no pace looking in the mirror. That's the hardest thing for me to get through at the moment. So the actual racing itself is not too bad. I
mean, you must be delighted to sort of start the round of 8 with this victory. It's such a unusual round, isn't it? And a vital round of the playoffs in the format that we do. But to have that weight lifted off your shoulders already with a victory must be really, really pleasing.
Yeah, it's good. So no matter what happened all year, so I'll be in the spot where we're aiming for now. So don't have to worry about for the next couple of races. Just get ready for the final round.
Exactly, and what's the plan for the next couple of races now? Given that pressure is off, it just go for the win, sort of stamp your authority further, or what's the plan in those next couple of weeks?
Same as always. When I go race, I just try win, see what happens. That doesn't really change anything as far as that's concerned. I just don't need to worry if I don't win now. So it's about it.
Well, congrats on lead. I'm not sure if you know the exact number, by the way. Leading 109 laps, including the last one, of course, the important one. So congratulations on such a dominant performance. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Thanks, mate. Just you guys, as always, for putting these events on, and the guys at Loves Esports. Thank you.
Thanks again, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. That's Brad Newman, race victor tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Understated, you would say, but given the fact he's just led almost all the laps and won a very, very important round of 8 race tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. A good race, Dylan, I've got to say. It was a lot of fun across the board, but dominant in the end from Brad Newman. That was the standings on the way in. He was close to that cut line, and he'll be very, very pleased that weight is lifted off his shoulders for the next 2 rounds now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the way that a lot of these drivers want to have their playoff round of 8 start with a win, so that way they can kind of relax. I mean, like you said, you got Talladega coming up in 2 weeks' time, and then you got Las Vegas to end the round of 8, and then you go into the round of or the championship round at Homestead Miami Speedway. So if anybody can get away from Talladega with either a 0x or even potentially finishing the race while you're a playoff driver and winning that race, you're going to have a lot of pressure off of your shoulders, like Brad Newman going into the next race in 2 weeks' time at Talladega. So Talladega going to be one of those races where you definitely got to watch where everything goes coming forward. And then obviously you got the 1.5 miles of Las Vegas to end it all out.
I believe I'm correct in saying that Talladega is actually in 3 weeks' time rather than 2 because of the Bathurst 1000. Am I right, Biggles, or am I wrong? I think he thinks I'm right. Okay. Who knows? I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, Talladega will be coming up. If not October 12th, then it will be October 19th. But either way, 8 p.m. as always. 80 laps from Talladega, 134 from Vegas, and 150 from Homestead Miami Speedway. The traditional place to end NASCAR championships, at least it used to be. That's where we're ending ours anyway in November. So very much hope you can join us then. It's been a lot of fun here tonight covering the Australian NASCAR Championship Playoffs. First round of the round of 8 here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. I hope you've enjoyed it at home as well. Big thanks to everyone who's been tuned in across our different platforms. I've been Ian O'Leary alongside Dylan McDonald in the commentary box with Biggles behind the cameras here tonight of this broadcast. We'll see you in either 2 or 3 weeks from Talladega as the round of 8 continues in these playoffs. Brad Newman already confirmed as one of our final 4. Who's going to join him in a few weeks' time at Talladega? Make sure you join us to find out. But from all of us here from Atlanta, it's goodbye for now.